So, have you ever woken up feeling completely drained, even after a good night's sleep? Do you feel like you are running on autopilot, going through the motions, but not feeling engaged or excited about any of your goals? Are you having kind of lost motivation? Do you have, uh, I don't know if I can keep going. You don't know if you can go. Should you go? Should I fast? Should I keep eating healthily? Should I abandon my routine? Oh, I just don't know what to do. If that sounds familiar, then you might be experiencing what we term burnout. It's a phrase that we throw around. It's a set of words, right? That sneaks up on us. That we're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't focus. I don't have the drive. That's what we're talking about tonight. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, in this show, at this time, what we're doing is we're living a limitless life. We're not allowing anything from outside of us, anything from inside to prevent us from doing what we need to do to be healthy. We are throwing back, throwing open. We are knocking down and we're moving forward. Nothing is going to prevent us from being healthy. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes, who are interested in getting healthy and doing what they need to do to be successful. If you're new to me, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music. To let you know that we are happy that you are here, that you are in this space. If you have questions as we go throughout the episode tonight, go ahead and make sure you put those in the comments. Make sure you put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you, and put a Q in front of that question so that we know that that's something that we need to get to. And you guys know how we do. I've got my monitors off to the side here. I've got my Dexcom Clarity report, which you'll see right down below, and then of course I've got my Keto Mojo, and I've got my Contour, which we'll take a look at in just a minute. And then of course, I've got on, you can't see them right now because they're under my shirt and my sweater, I've got my Dexcom Clarity, my Dexcom G7, and of course my Freestyle Libre, which we'll take a look at here in just a little while, so you can see what's been going on with my blood sugar. And I am right now about 37 hours into this week's fast. As you know, I do a fast every week, 72 hours. And this week I started my fast a little later because normally at this point we'd be in 48 hours, but we've pushed that back a little bit. If you didn't see the show last night, go ahead and watch that because that'll explain a little bit about what's going on. I'll give you a little teaser here in a minute, but it'll let you know what's been happening with me this week. And this is the space that we are creating where we can share that kind of information, where we can hang out with each other, and we can be honest and open about what's going on in our journey so far. Okay. Also, if you've not been doing so, you want to make sure that you are taking advantage of our morning episodes that we've been doing, 100-day walk to consistency and health. That's what it's called. My 100-day walk to consistency and health. And what it is a journey of learning, of exploration, and really just kind of setting the tone for the day, right? Giving yourself a chance to get some structure so that the rest of the day begins to fall in place. And as you're doing that, you're learning some things, right? You're moving, and we'll talk about that in this episode because that some of that comes into play. But it is a great way to begin the day, and we are on day number 51 today. Tomorrow's going to be 52. So just a little bit over halfway, right? So we're going to day 100. So make sure that you get in there and make sure that you are doing what you need to do to be healthy and to be successful in this space. All right. So what are we doing? Where are we and why are we in this place? So metabolism is the driving force behind much of our chronic illness. It is behind diabetes and high blood pressure and high cholesterol and fatty liver and polycystic ovarian syndrome. And it is a risk factor for coronary artery disease and strokes and on and on and on and on and on. And even as we talk about metabolism and the downstream effects of our lifestyle, even predisposing us to some certain cancers. That's right. That's right. So if that is the problem, metabolism, how do we right the metabolism? How do we deal with it? How do we get the metabolism back right? And we've talked that metabolism, disordered metabolism, is our problem, right? So metabolism is simply the way that we get food and convert it to energy in the body. All the processes that the body has to go through in order to get us that energy, that's called metabolism. And because our metabolism is dysregulated, because there are dysfunctions within the metabolism, then we develop those diseases that we talk about. And those are what we call and term chronic illnesses, chronic diseases, lifestyle diseases. But if we can right that, if we can get the ship back on course, if we can become homeostatic or get it back into balance, that's what that word means, then many of those diseases, the things that we talk about, guess what? They improve, they get better, they go away. And you heard me say, I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes. That's the goal. That's where we're heading. But all of the other illnesses that I just mentioned along the spectrum of metabolism, all of those also are benefited by the concepts and the things that we're talking about. And so here in this space, here on the channel, what we've been doing is we've been walking through the path, limitless living, right? That's the theme. Limitless living. What are the things that we need to do to be successful when it comes to righting our metabolism, when it comes to improving, becoming better, and reversing our diabetes? That's right. That's right. So if you're out there and you're hearing diabetes, I want you to be excited because you're there. But if you're out there also and you're like, well, I don't have diabetes, I've got one of those other things, or I'm at risk for those other things, obesity, fatty liver, polycystic ovarian syndrome, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and on and on and on. If you're listening and you say, hey, I fall into one of those categories, or I'm at risk for one of those categories, here, this is where you want to be, because that's what we're talking about. So as we've been walking through the journey of limitless living, there are lots of tools that we are learning. And one of the most powerful tools that we've learned is this idea of fasting. And so on a weekly basis, I have been doing a fast, and we have our community members that have been doing fast. I do a 72-hour fast, but there are community members that are doing intermittent fasting, 1 meal a day fasting, alternate day fasting, time restricted eating, right? There's even a 5 and 2 where you fast for 5 days and you eat for 2 days. There are the extended fast like I'm doing, right? 24, 36, 48, 72 hours. Some people even do 96 hours. As a matter of fact, on this in this channel, in this space, 1 week we did a 96, 1 week we did 106 hours. Okay, and that's not on. Don't do that on a regular basis, but it can be done. And one of the things that we've done is talk about the different types of fasting. So you can go back on the channel, you can find that, but also talk about what are some of the disease processes that the various fasting timelines will treat. So you want to go back and you want to take a look at that as well. And so here we are now in our fasting space. And on these fasting check-ins, what we're doing is we're learning about the concepts, learning the tools that we need to have to be successful at using that particular tool in reversing our diabetes and improving our metabolic health. Okay, so that's it. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. And here we are in one of our check-ins. And I am, like I said, 37 hours into this week's fast. Heading to 72, and as part of that, I do a check-in. How am I feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally, so that you begin to form a structure for your fast as well, for improving whatever it is that you need to do to be successful in terms of metabolism. Here we're using fasting. You may be talking about exercising or talking about what types of foods that you eat, right? The balanced bites that we've talked about. You may be dealing with relationship issues, emotional issues, some physical limitations that you may have. And so using this structure that I'm about to show you will help with that as well. So because it allows you to begin thinking through systematically what are the things that are going on with me so that I can set myself up for the best possibility of success. And the three areas that people tend to have difficulties with, one is the physical, then the mental, and then the emotional. And the physical makes sense, particularly as we're talking in this space about fasting, or even as you're talking about exercising or sleep. The thing that I'm doing, the tool that I'm using, is it beneficial? Is it giving me the benefits that I need? And here, when we talk about physical, often people are talking about whether they feel tired, they feel fatigued. As they're getting through the fast, they may say they feel drained, like they're hitting a wall. And, I was going fine and I did 10 hours or 12 hours or 14 hours or 16 hours. But man, as soon as that 16-hour mark reached, I just couldn't go anymore because I was so tired and so fatigued. Okay. Right now, I am not feeling any of that. We will talk more through that in our discussion tomorrow when we do a complete review of fasting, right? So make sure that you join us for that tomorrow. So we'll be going through that, and we do that every Friday, by the way, right? Not just this Friday. We do it every Friday, where we do a complete review of how to prepare for a fast, how to get through the fast, and then of course how to break the fast, so that all of those different components of fasting are optimized so we can get the best benefit. Okay, so physically, the other thing that people will talk about when they talk about fasting and the physical is whether they're feeling lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty, feeling palpitations, like their heart's racing, skipping a beat. And I am not feeling any of those right now. Those symptoms tend to come if we are not rested and if we are not maintaining good hydration. And you guys will see me grab my mug. By the way, my Limitless Living mug. And I am being intentional about hydrating. So I sip throughout the day. I'll sip. Because when you're fasting, because you're not thinking about food, you also tend not to think about drinking, right? So you want to make sure that you're doing a good job of doing that, so you set yourself up for the best possibility of success. So physically, not having these symptoms, I have in the past come on and talked about how I'm feeling drained or even feeling lightheaded sometimes. And you'll recall that many of those times, well, I shouldn't say many, all of those times when I've had those symptoms, they've been because either poor rest patterns and poor hydration. Okay? And then mentally. So when you talk about fasting and you talk about how I'm doing physically, the mental part goes hand in hand, because when you've been tired, like you are just exhausted, you're not only are you feeling that in terms of physical, right? Like you feel drained, you feel the symptoms we just talked about, palpitations, lightheaded, dizzy, and sweaty, but your thought process is not clear. Right, you feel sluggish, you're grasping for words. It's difficult to do those calculations, right, and make the decisions. So there is this whole thing that's going on, and that has to do with fatigue, which we'll actually talk about mental fatigue here in a little while, right? So mentally, I'm feeling good. I did get good rest last night. This week, as you know, coming into this week, I had some challenges with fasting, getting into the fast and maintaining that. Like I said, we're 36 hours now into this week's fast, and we're heading to 72. And then emotionally, fasting is not just not eating, right? There are so many nuances with fasting, and one of the big ones is emotion. Because for many of us, our buffering behavior, the thing that we do when we find ourselves in difficulty, the thing that we go to when we are unsure, the thing we go to when we are when we hit a hump or a bump, we go to food. That is our crutch. That is the thing that we use. That's our go-to. And when we're fasting, we no longer have that crutch, right? You can't go to food anymore because you're not eating. And so we often have to face some of those emotional issues and deal with them in a constructive way so that we can continue to process and continue to move through our lives. So emotionally, it can be challenging. And right now I'm feeling okay. As I said, coming into this week, it was one of those weeks. And so I am still kind of in the process of dealing with some of that. But overall, feeling pretty good and excited that I was actually able to get some of that out, talk to some friends, actually share that here on our episode last night, and am into the fast when I was having trouble actually starting the fast, right? Because I started and stopped and started and broken and buffered and ate and chocolate, and right, the whole thing. But here I am, a little over 37 hours into this week's fast, and actually feeling good about that. And so emotionally, that is a good thing, and it helps to push me forward as well. Okay. All right. So now let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's take a look at my blood sugars, and you'll see there on the screen that is my Freestyle Libre meter, which I have. Let's see. I think that's the one on this side. So I have one on this arm, one on the other arm. You can't see them right now because I've got my clothes on, but you've seen me on the different various episodes before where we took a look at that. And so right now, that is what my blood sugars are according to the Libre. I'm going to hop over and take a look at the Dexcom, because as you know, the Dexcom and the keto and the Libre, I'm thinking Keto Mojo is my monitor over here. The Dexcom and the Libre, they can be, actually, it's not just them, they can be different, right, when we're talking about the various meters. So right now, according to the Dexcom, I'm 108. Right, so 90 is where the Libre has me, and 108 is where this guy has me. So about 18 points, rounded up to 20. And if I take this one, I can actually run my finger across the numbers, and you'll see there about 9 a.m. this morning. We started out about 160, and at that point we were a little over 24 hours in the fast. Okay. And down and down and down. And so as we've gone through this day, you've seen there that the blood sugars are continuing to fall to where we are right now. What I want to do is I want to actually take a look at the 24-hour period. And here, so let's see. So we did... So that was today. And this part right here, right? So notice that I was 120, I was 146, so that's 3 a.m. this morning, and I dropped. So now we're coming into maybe 5 o'clock this morning, 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, and then all of a sudden that started going up. So this is when I left to go to work, right? So no food. Right? No carb containing anything. As a matter of fact, I think the only thing I drank at that point was some water. And I want you to take a look at this, right? So all of this is with no food. And I think we got up to about 160, 170 maybe. Okay, 169 I think was the highest. 168 right there. Right? And then started coming back down. Now that spike right there, right? So this right here is one of the things that kind of frustrates a lot of people, because they'll say, well, I didn't eat anything, right? Why is that happening? Well, part of it has to do with stress. Part of it has to do with you getting ready for the day. Part of it has to do with what's called the dawn phenomenon, which started right about 3 o'clock that morning for all of us, everybody on the planet. Your dawn phenomenon, your body's pushing hormones, the stress hormones in, cortisol, growth hormone, and so as to get you ready for the day. Now for me, I expected that right about here, right? Because 3 o'clock, 3:30, great, great, great. But I actually dropped further down into the one teens. And then as I'm making my way to work, right, then my blood sugar is going up, 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 hitting 160, 169 at about 9 a.m. this morning, and then continued to come down. Okay. Now, one of the interesting things, and a great place for us to kind of have that discussion, is that I enjoy going to work, right? I enjoy walking into patients' rooms. I enjoy the conversations that we have. I enjoy my team. I enjoy what I do. So people would say, hey, that stress that you're under, it is, okay, you don't like what you're doing. And that's not the case. It's just because I am, if anybody's seen me in my office, right, I can be pretty intense in my discussions, right? I'm very animated. I have my days where I come in and I'm just kind of, matter of fact. But for the most of the time, we're having conversations. And a lot of times we're talking about stuff, what the patient is there for. But remember, life doesn't just happen in that room. There's a whole bunch of other things that's happening in your life. And those are the things that affect blood sugar or affect sleep or affect energy. And so my goal is really not to just say, okay, here's your pill, go take, we'll see you next time. It's, okay, what's going on? And I ask that question, and my medical students, when they're coming through, you'll begin hearing them pick up on that. And I walk into the room and say, good morning, hey, how are you doing? Welcome. How's life been going? Or what's going on in your life today? Or what's been going on in your life? Or fill me in, or bring me up to speed, right? And often people think that I'm doing that simply because I'm being cordial, and they're like, oh, you don't want to hear. And the answer is yes, I do want to hear, because I am being social, I am being cordial, I am in the space of creating an environment for the patient. But I know also that those things that they're about to tell me that they think are not important also will have an effect on what we do in the room and in their lives. So blood sugars will go up. Why is it going up? Well, you're stressed. You were in the hospital. Mom is sick. You just had a death in the family. And all of that will affect blood sugars. Okay? I know that's a long discussion for what we were doing, but I wanted to make sure I said that. Okay, and so now let's hop over. So you've seen what my blood sugars are on the monitors. Let's hop over and let's take a look at, let's go over here and let's take a look at these guys. So here's my Keto Mojo, and of course here's my contour. I've got a contour meter, and so we're gonna go ahead and grab a strip. And this is the one for the contour. I'm not going to put it in yet, because the last time I was talking, and it took a little while. Okay, so the blue ones are the ketones for the Keto Mojo, and then the brown ones, this is the for the ketones. I mean, the blood sugar and ketones. Brown is blood sugar, blue is ketones. Okay, so let's go ahead and get that over there, and let's see if I have. Okay, so I don't have any of the. Do I have any on this side? I was looking for one of the Lancets that I like, which I don't see. So that means I'm going to have to be very intentional with these guys, so I can get a good flow of blood. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead, and so I've got these here. I'm going to put those right there. So those are my Lancets, and these are spring-loaded, not like the ones I was using before. Go ahead and get this strip into the contour, and then go ahead and open these guys. So this one, like I said, is the blood sugar. This is the brown one, if I can tear it open. All right, so I get that strip in here, and then open this one as well. But this one I'm going to just put off to the side, because we're going to come back to that in a minute. All right, so now let's go ahead and grab a strip. And these are, you twist off the top, And then there's a lever right here. You press it and it sends the lancet out. So I'm gonna try to right here and get a good poke. I hope. I don't think that worked. Nope, not a good enough one. All right. So I might have to go off screen and go find one of those. Let's do this again. Let's do this one. Okay, so I think. Oh, yeah, those are not working at all. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this strip out of there. Put that strip out of there until I'm able to get a good. And of course, I don't have any of the other ones with me here. Okay, so let's try it again. Okay, try a different finger. All right, there we go. Okay. All right, so real life, right? So got that one in. Go ahead and get that started. And we're gonna keep this flowing because I need 2 more drops. One for the blood sugar from the Keto Mojo. Go ahead and get, oh, wait a minute, what happened? There we go. Get that started, go. And then keep this flowing. And so 95 is what you're seeing there from the 95, 98 for the Keto Mojo. And get this one out quickly. And go ahead and put this strip in. So what do you think my ketones are going to be, by the way? All right, so go ahead and get that started. What do you think my ketones are going to be at 37.5 hours, maybe? Okay, I'm not going to show you what that is. Go ahead and drop that in the comments, and we'll come back to that in just a minute. All right, so let me go ahead and let's say hello to some of our community members. And let's see, I see Ju Yeon up there. She says, hi, doctor, and hi, Wood Gang. Okay, so she's saying, hi, doctor. Says, hi, Wood Gang. Pamela says, hi, Jeon. And Jeon is saying hi to Pam. And Pam says, yep, that's you. Yeah, Pam, that's right, that's me. Just in the room having that conversation, right? And then Jeon says she thinks that my ketones are going to be 0.5. Okay, so I'm gonna star that one, and we'll come back to look at that here in just a little while. All right. So let's get into it. Let's get into it, right? So tonight we are breaking down why burnout happens. Let me do one thing and come back there. So let's do this, and then let's do that again. All right. So in this episode, we are breaking down why burnout happens, the different types of burnout, and how to reset and regain momentum. In most things that we do, if we do them persistently, and one of the things that we're talking about in our series, 100-Day Walk to Consistency, is when you're doing something over and over and over, then there is the possibility that you can get into this space, right, that we're terming burnout. So burnout is that space where, as I mentioned at the top of the show, we feel as though we don't have motivation, we don't have the drive. Things may become mundane, things may become boring to us. We may feel overwhelmed, right? So all those things begin happening, and they can be signs of burnout, right? You feel like you're going on autopilot. You're just going through the motions, but you're not feeling, you're not engaging, you're not excited about what's happening. There's a phrase that the psychologists and psychiatrists will use. It's called anhedonia. Anhedonia is the lack of excitement about the things of life, right? Don't feel like doing anything, right? So that can be a sign sometimes of depression, but you can also have that when we talk about burnout, because you feel like you're not experiencing life. And one of the reasons that we're doing what we're doing, right? One of the reasons that we're doing what we're doing in terms of limitless living is so that you can enjoy life, right? You hear me say, take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level and create the life you've always wanted. Limitless living. That's what we want to do. And so if you're in this space where, humdrum, then that's not the space that we want you to be in, okay? So that's the idea behind burnout. So why does burnout happen, right? So burnout doesn't just happen overnight. It's the result of prolonged stress, prolonged overcommitment, and unmet needs. Let me say that again. So stress, overcommitment, which leads to stress, and unmet needs, whether that's physical, mental, or emotional, right? So those are the components that lead to burnout. And it's a gradual thing. You don't just wake up this morning and say, okay, I'm burned out. I mentioned earlier in our episode yesterday that one of the things that was going on with me, one of the reasons I was having difficulty getting into the fast was because I had overcommitted myself. And so one of the common causes of burnout is overscheduling. Saying yes to too many things, too many commitments without leaving space to recharge. Because you can let me see how to say this, right? And we hear this all the time. One of the points that I hear made many times with anybody who's talking about any of my folks in the coaching sphere, people who are in the creator space, one of the things that they will say is you can only give out of your overflow if you're going to be successful, if you're going to be able to do it long term. But if you are empty and you continue giving, at some point you can't give anymore because there's nothing in here. And so when we are scheduling, when we are doing the things we do, and some of us are doing amazing things in our lives, right? We are affecting the people around us in our communities, in our jobs, in our families, in our space. You're doing amazing things, but we're not leaving space to recharge and to replenish. And so we're giving and giving and giving. At some point, that giving shows up as, oh man, I'm not enjoying this anymore, right? So overscheduling and overcommitment. The other reason that people will become overwhelmed and get into burnout is the lack of rest and recovery, right? So that goes on the end of what we just talked about, lack of rest and recovery. So burnout, burning the candle on both ends without prioritizing sleep and relaxation. Now, I love to relax. Can I raise my hand? And can I tell you that of all the things that we talk about, I was going to say the most difficult for me. Well, I'll say it. Of all the things we talk about in terms of self-care and being in this space and motivating and limitless living, one of the most challenging for me is sleep. Because my brain is always going. Right? And I love what I do, but I have to be careful. Because if I'm not careful, I can end up feeling like I'm burning the candle on both ends, and that leads to this concept of burnout. Okay? So if we're continuing doing that, and we're not resting, we're not prioritizing sleep, we're not prioritizing relaxation, then we run into trouble. Now, relaxation, I think I'm pretty good at it, right? I love to travel. One thing that I love to do is eat. And so that one has been kind of, I've got to figure out how that fits into what I do now, right? Because often when we go somewhere, it's like, okay, what kind of food do they have over there that we're going to eat? But anyway, so the whole idea of relaxation, I love, my son and my wife and I are on this trek, and I think I've mentioned it, to see the NBA teams play. And part of that is our relaxation. That, so we've got these goals that we're trying to get to, and that's relaxing for us. Okay, so lack of rest is another reason why people will get into overwhelm and meet the burnout. So mental overload. So constant decision making, problem solving, dealing with high stress situations. Does that sound like a lot of us? Yep. I know it sounds like me. So all day, what do you think I'm doing all day? All day, I am making decisions as it relates to people's health, as it relates to blood sugars, energy and sleep and fatigue, and which one is going to go to see another physician in a consult. What imaging study are we going to learn? Is somebody going to go to surgery? Right? So those are all decisions that are constantly being made. And so sometimes we get into this idea of decision fatigue. And the brain's like, no, I do not want to make another decision. This is it right here. Particularly if you're dealing with high stress situations. Okay? And then emotional drain. So feeling disconnected from your goals, your relationships, and your purpose. This is a good one right here. And because there is the alignment that needs to happen. The alignment has to happen if we're going to be successful for long term. So if your why and is not aligned with what you desire and what you're doing, then you're over here spinning your wheels, and you may be doing something. You may be busy. You may be being very beneficial to some people, but if it's not aligned with your why, then it doesn't work. It's kind of like me, right, wanting to go to California, but heading to New York. Right, now they do that on the plane, so that's a whole nother conversation. But getting in the car and saying, I'm going to California, but rather than going to California, I'm heading to New York. That doesn't work. I'm in the car, I'm moving, I'm going somewhere, but I'm not going where I want to go. Right? So it has to align with what you want, your why, and the things that you're doing has to align. If they don't align, then you get this disconnection, or this disconnect between our goals, our relationships, and our purpose. Right? Okay. And then neglecting self-care. Neglecting self-care is the other reason why people will get into burnout. And we mentioned this partially yesterday in our episode where we talked about the reasons why I was having a difficult week. One of the reasons was that I was not doing a good job of being in my routine, doing a good job of my nutrition, right? Because what I was doing, because of the stress, I was eating, right, the chocolate, the Cadbury, the whatever it was, and those things will cause downstream issues for us, right? Because once I ate that one, have you ever had this happen to you? Tell me. So everything is going fine. You may be fasting, or you may be on a diet, you may be on a meal eating plan, and everything is going fine. And you say to yourself, hey Gerald, I've been good. So I'm just going to have a little piece of whatever that thing is. Right? You're going to have that little piece of chocolate, little piece of cake. You're going to have that small milkshake. You're going to have that small soda, that small juice. And you eat it, and all of a sudden it's like you can't get enough. You know what just happened? Well, one, if it is highly sugary, your insulin level came out. Your insulin spiked. So you ate the food, whatever it was, the insulin spiked. And remember, the insulin is the issue. The insulin makes you hungry. And so these nutrient-dense foods that we talk about, balanced bites, that's where we need to be. So we're not eating nutrient-dense foods. We're eating calorie-dense foods. You're eating that Snicker bar. Not necessarily just Snicker, right? Because all the candy bars. But we all know Snicker. So we're eating that candy bar, and the candy bar is packed full of calories, but it's not very nutritious for us. We're not exercising. We're not getting up in the morning. We don't have a routine. We don't have a place where we are moving. We don't have a place where we're getting good air and we're outside and we're lubricating our joints. And all of that brings excitement. It brings freshness. It brings energy. And if you're not doing that, then that sets you up to move into being burned out. So the tricky part is that burnout often disguises itself as just being tired or losing motivation. It's like, oh yeah, I'm just tired. Oh yeah, that doesn't excite me. I'm not motivated. When in reality, it's a signal that something in your life needs to change. You guys hear that? Something in your life needs to change. So this is a great place, because I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna pop up and pull in our I'm gonna pull in our limitless living inventory. Something in your life needs to change. And so the limitless inventory says, I am going to begin evaluating different pieces of my life, whatever they are, right? And that's the path that we're walking. That's the little mini series that we're doing on the channel. Walking through each of those components of our lives to say, okay, how am I doing in that area? How am I doing in this area? And grading it, and then stepping back and say, okay, that one over there is a 2 out of 10, with 1 being, my God, we got to do something really quick, or 10 being, okay, everything is great, right? That one is a 2 out of 10. I need to handle that, because remember, each of the areas, each of the domains of our lives, it's like a wheel. And that wheel is what's taking us through our lives. And if the wheel is not smooth, if it's not working well, if there's an area that we are not handling properly, then we set ourselves up for difficulty and we can have problems. And so, is there something that I need to address? Okay? So there are 3 types of burnout. 3 types of burnout. They are physical, they are mental, and then of course emotional. Where did you guys see that before? Physical, mental, and emotional. That's the check-in that we did. That's the check-in that we do when we are fasting. This is the check-in that you do if you're talking about eating well or exercising or making some change in your life. How are you doing physically, mentally, and emotionally? So burnout isn't just feeling tired. It can manifest in different ways. So understanding which type of burnout you're experiencing can help you take the right steps to recover. So physical burnout. So signs of physical burnout are constant exhaustion. This is even after you've had sleep. Now, there are some disease processes that can cause this as well, right? So sometimes it can be a little tricky, which is why you need community, you need your healthcare provider to help you walk through this process. For example, obstructive sleep apnea, or central sleep apnea for that fact, can show up as constant exhaustion even though you slept, quote unquote, slept through the night. But that's sleep apnea, right? So constant exhaustion. So frequent headaches, right? If you're having headaches, you're exhausted, muscle tension, body aches. And people will say, oh, I'm just having an ache here, an ache there. But if you begin putting all the symptoms together, or all the signs that people are having together, you say, hey, what's going on? Remember that stress can cause weakened immune systems. So we're getting sick more often. That can be a sign that we're in this process, right? When we're not enjoying, when we're not happy, when we have anhedonia, we're not excited about our lives, that weakens our immune system. That's why community is important. They say laughter is good for the soul, right? All of those phrases that we hear, they come from somewhere. right? So weaken the immune system. And then, of course, increase craving for sugar, for caffeine, for processed foods. Now, I I was gonna say I guess I'm burned out because I get those cravings, right? So once again, it's in context, right? So you may have cravings when you're not burned out, but putting them all together, you say, okay, yeah, this sounds like, it looks like, and I probably need to be evaluated for. All right. So what causes physical burnout? One, poor sleep habits. Right, you staying up all night, you getting in the bed, and you're playing on your phone. You're scrolling right up on till the time before you go to bed. All of that can predispose to physical burnout. Over exercising or under exercising can also predispose to burnout. Right, because either you're giving away too much energy, or you're not moving at all. As I mentioned before, moving infuses your body, infuses your mind with energy and vitality. But if you're just hanging around, sitting in the chair at the house, guess what? Yeah. And then, of course, nutrient deficiencies, not getting enough protein, not enough healthy fats, not getting enough micronutrients. Right, iron and zinc and calcium and potassium and all. Someone was asking me, was it this week or last week, about a particular diet, right? I think they were changing to, and I'm trying to recall, I think, was becoming vegetarian. And they said, hey, is that okay? And one of the things I commented with, and you may have heard me say that here, but you want your plate to be colorful. You want to eat a balanced diet, right? Balanced bites. So you want some greens and some reds and some oranges and some purples and some yellows, right? So when you're doing that, you are eating a balanced diet. And you are less likely to have nutrient deficiencies. And then, of course, chronic stress, right? Chronic stress can trigger inflammation. Inflammation triggers insulin resistance. Insulin resistance causes elevated insulin levels, and then we're off to the races. See how that all kind of ties together, right? So physical. So the solution to the physical burnout is, number one, prioritize deep sleep. Focus on nutrient dense foods. Hydrate well. Hydrate. Include gentle movement like stretching, walking, right? Yoga. That helps to replenish. It gets you the nutrients you need. It gets you the rest that you need. Because remember, in sleep, the body restores. The body rejuvenates. When we have quality sleep, it's restorative. Right? So physical. And then mental burnout. So what are the signs of mental burnout? So brain fog, trouble concentrating, being forgetful. Those are signs of mental burnout. You're feeling overwhelmed by even small tasks. I'll tell you, I've been overwhelmed before, right? And I think I've had burnout. And when you're in that space, even the simplest thing that you normally do, like rote, and you are able to do it in your sleep, it becomes more challenging because the brain is like, you know what, I don't even want to think right now. Which is why when we do our check-in, we talk about the fact that the physical aspect of our fasting will overlap. It will go into the mental aspect of our fasting, because how you feel physically will manifest sometimes in how you think. Okay, decision fatigue. So these are all signs. So struggling to make choices. Decision fatigue is where the brain says, I'm not even making the choice right now. I've already made a bunch of decisions today. I'm taking a break. And then you have lack of creativity, lack of problem-solving ability. Now, you are normally very creative in your space, and all of a sudden it's like, man, I can't even think there. I can't go there. I feel as though I don't have any more inside of me. Causes for that can be information overload. So too much screen time. Ha ha ha. Too much screen time. Too much social media. Too much news. Right? They tell me that when you even for a moment swipe that device, that it takes your focus away from whatever's going on, and your brain has to now reprocess to come back to where you were. So some people say, oh, I just went on there for a minute. And you may have gone for a minute, but all of the energy and all of the brain power that it took to now get you back to where you were, get the juices flowing, get you thinking better, get you thinking like you were thinking before you got on that device, that's a lot of energy. And that can cause you to be overwhelmed and can lead to eventually to burnout. And of course, no downtime for deep thinking or reflection. Now, here again, I've got to say that this has been a struggle. I think sometimes it still is a struggle. Several years ago, my wife and I, so we started our practice, 15 years ago maybe? Yeah, I think about that, or a little bit more. And so we were so busy building the practice that we didn't take time to think about where the practice was going. And so we went away to an executive training program, and one of the very first things that they said to us is, how much time do you spend not running the practice, but how much time do you spend in just thinking about the practice, where the practice is going, what do you want to do, what do you want it to look like? And to be honest, we had not done that because we hit the ground running. We got those patients on the schedule, and I was just going in the room seeing patients, right? And dealing with their issues and treating and writing prescriptions and ordering this and ordering that and getting the patients through. But the stepping back and say, okay, what is the overall goal for what you want to do? And sometimes we don't do that for our lives. We don't process. We don't say, okay, what is my thing? What am I going to be doing? And so that also sometimes will cause disalignment with our why, with our purpose, and with the activities that we're doing. Right? And then too many competing priorities. Once again, I'm raising my hand. So all of this stuff, I'm like, ooh, that's me, ooh, that's me, right? So lots of competing priorities. And I've said it to you, there's so many things in my head that I want to do, even in this space, that it's all I could do to not try to do them all at the same time. Because when I do that, right, so you do a bunch of things and none of them are really the best at what you want to do. And so lots of things going on. Maybe you find yourself, you got your hand in so many different things, and all of them are getting a piece of you, but none of them is getting the best of you. So the solution for that is to reduce your mental clutter. Unplugging. Create some clear priorities. Schedule breaks for reflection and deep focus instead of constantly multitasking and doing. Right. So here in my studio, and let me see. I don't know if you can see all of the. Right. So I've got, of course, my monitor here. I've got my one monitor down here. I've got one monitor there. That's my teleprompter. I've got my main computer over here. Over here, I've got another computer. Right. And so there are times when I'm sitting here and I've got something on all the screens, which is crazy. Right. So we got to work on that. So anyway, so reflecting, deep focus instead of constantly multitasking. And then of course, emotional burnout. So signs of emotional burnout is feeling undermotivated, feeling discouraged, feeling emotionally numb, increased irritability, frustration, mood swings. I was just telling my wife today that I was frustrated with something. I need to do my burnout inventory. So loss of joy in things that used to excite you, right? If you're seeing yourself in this, right? Hey, let's process. Am I feeling as though I'm burning out? Now, what we're talking about, right? The reason this conversation is here is there's burnout in lots of different areas, but the burnout that happens in our health journey is real. Because you've been at this for a while. You've been at this for a year. You've been doing New Year, New You. You've been doing limitless living. You've been fasting. You've been fasting every week. You've been doing a 72-hour fast, a 26-hour fast. You've been doing one meal a day. And there's not any downtime. You feel like I'm always constantly having to be on edge. And that can cause you to feel discouraged, cause you to feel emotionally numb, just like you're going through the motions. You don't enjoy it anymore. It's become a chore. It was exciting when you first started losing the weight, but it's become a chore now. And of course, feeling disconnected from other people or withdrawing socially, those are all signs of emotional burnout. So causes for that can be chronic stress without emotional processing. Chronic stress without emotional processing, right? So that's another place for me to go ahead and do a plug for a COPE. Our COPE model says that we clarify what's going on. We observe what's going on in our bodies. We name it. We pause to allow our brain to process it. And then we execute by doing something different, something that's healthy, something that sets us up for the best possibility of metabolic success. Okay? So we're talking about emotional burnout, right? What else causes emotional burnout? So chronic stress, suppressing our feelings instead of addressing them. See that? That's the COPE. That's the COPE. Right? Lack of community support or meaningful connections. See how all that's tying together? The Triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. Boom. And then, of course, neglecting activities that bring fulfillment. You got to have some fun. Got to have some fun. So how do we combat emotional burnout? We build resilience through journaling, meditation, gratitude practices, strengthening connections with supportive people. Right? What does that sound like? That sounds like encouragement, right? The third E in Triple E. We're building resilience. We're learning here in this space. We're learning how to be resilient. When we do our 100-day walk to consistency, the concepts that we're learning, how are we resilient? How do we be consistent? How do we build a better version of ourselves? All of those are tools to help us along the way as we live limitlessly. Limitless living. And so here, let me give you a couple of pointers. Grab your paper, right? So a game plan to refuel and regain momentum, right? So now that we've identified why burnout happens, we've talked about how it shows up, we talked about the different types. Now let's talk about how we reset, recharge, and reignite the fire, right? And you'll hear some of this, right? Go back and watch our show, our last episode. Number one, we reflect. One of the things I love about Keystone Principles is that they are universal and you see them over and over. So a Keystone Principle, I want you to think in the olden days, right? When they made like the entrance to a city, that arch, often what they did was they put what's called a keystone. And the keystone was put in place and all the other stones leaned against that keystone. So there was no mortar, there was no cement, right? It was all based on the fact that this stone was the central and the main stone and everything else leaned against it and hung on it. And so it was there for years, hundreds of years. So keystone principles are those principles that are universal, that allow other principles, other things to hang on them, and they support it. So one of the keystone principles is that we want to reflect all the time. Ask ourselves, what is the number one thing that has been draining my energy lately? Is it physical? Lack of sleep, poor diet, no exercise, not moving, just hanging out at the house? Is it mental? Do I have too much stuff on my plate? Lack of focus, constant distractions, on my phone, swiping on the social media, looking at the people who are showing us their highlight reels and not their real life, and thinking to myself, oh, I wish I had, oh, wish I could, I should be doing. Overcommitment. So is it physical? Is it mental? Is it emotional? Are you feeling disconnected, unmotivated, or uninspired? Are you in your community? Are you using the community? Are you connecting within the community? Right? So we reflect. So once you identify it, you can then take action, intentional action, and steps to correct it. You can't do anything if you don't know. Right? So number one, right, we reflect. We refuel. So we give our body and our mind what it needs. If it's physical, reset, we prioritize rest, hydration, and our diet. Rest, hydration, and our diet. Rest, hydration, and our diet. Keystone. Sleep is not optional. If it's a mental reset we need, we simplify our commitments and we create space for deep thinking. So we may have to say to some people, I apologize, I can't make that right now. I can't do that right now. I know we were supposed to. I can't make the meeting. I can't make the conference. I can't do the presentation. I can't right now. And allow yourself the opportunity to step back and create space for you to think and for you to process. And then emotionally resetting, right? Connect with people who uplift you and engage in activities that bring you joy. That's the things that I've done over the last several weeks, right? I went away with my friends. Boom, brought me joy. Went to Miami with my son and my wife. We saw a Heat game. Boom. Love that, right? We're getting ready to do another activity. Boom. Love it. We were in Chattanooga several weeks ago. Boom. Connecting with people. I got my guys. I got you guys. What are the things that bring you joy? So you are trying to reset, right? You're refueling. And then re-engage. Take small steps. Take small steps. Take small steps, y'all, in the direction that you want to go. Set one small goal for the next day, for the next week that excites you. And celebrate when you have a win. If you can't fast for 72 hours, then fast for 48 hours. If you can't fast for 48 hours, fast for 24 hours. If you can't fast for 24 hours, fast for 12 hours. If you can't fast for 12 hours, fast for 8 hours. But by all means, take a step in that direction. Even just getting a good night's sleep or eating one balanced meal is in that direction. Use micro movements, tiny steps towards your goal instead of trying to overhaul the whole thing, everything at one time. And then you set yourself up for difficulty because it doesn't work. And then you're fulfilling what you thought was going to happen. Say, well, this is not going to work for me. It's not good. This is too overwhelming. Well, you set yourself up for that. So burnout isn't a dead end, right? So when you get there, when you say, okay, I am burned out, you figure out, you've gone through the process, say, okay, I'm burned out. That doesn't mean it's a dead end. It is a signal. It doesn't mean that you failed. It means your body and your mind are asking for a reset. They're asking for rest. Listen to what your energy is telling you. Take action to restore your fire. Right? So we're reflecting, right? We're reigniting, we're resetting. And then we're re-engaging. We're moving forward with intention, one step at a time. So your challenge is to identify one thing that has been draining your energy. Number one, choose one action, one step to restore your energy in the next 7 days. And then share your experience with this community, share with someone in your community at home, wherever you are, write it in your journal, but share it with someone. Let someone else know what's going on. And then what I'd love for you to do is drop what's one change that you think you can make, right? Simple thing that you can think you could do right now that will keep you from becoming burned out. Okay. All right. Love that discussion. That is a very, very important one, and one that is so timely for me and for a lot of folks in our community. So let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's see. I think I saw some folks popping through. And let's go back up. So I see Gian had said 0.5. Let me go back up there. Let's see. Okay. We said. All right. So Gian is there, and then Grace says hello, Dr. Woode. Hey, Grace, how are you? Thank you for coming through. Hey, y'all. Grace is gonna get a hand clap. Get a hand clap and some music. So I'm glad that you're here. Hey, Grace. Thank you for stopping through. Pam is saying, hi, Grace. Hi, Pamela. She's doing a wave. Gian is saying, hi, Grace. Grace said, me all the time. I think you were answering one of the questions that I asked. I'm actually trying to remember what question was at that time. So Gian says, small sugary sweets makes huge binge. Yep. Oh, okay, so we were talking about binging and eating something where you say, oh, I'm going to just eat one or just drink a little bit, and all of a sudden you eat it and it takes off, right? All right. Gian says, same here, Grace. Hey, Gian. Grace says 100%. And then Steve says he thinks my ketones are going to be 0.4. And I think Gian had said 0.5 before, so I got a 0.4, 0.5. Gian saying hi, Steve, and Steve saying hello back. Gian says too much cell phone using causing my insomnia. Yep. So we spend a lot of time on the cell phone, right? Just kind of scrolling and seeing what's there, and it will cause problems for us. Steve says good point, Gian. Every night I watch YouTube till I sleep. It causes me a lot of bad things. Yeah. So it's amazing how much time that we spend on social media. Gian said chronic stress is a culprit. Hey, Bowie. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming through. Pamela saying hi to Bowie and Steve. Gian is saying hello. Steve saying hello back. And he says that Steve is saying his ketones were 1.5 right now. Bowie said, I live in Chattanooga, small world. Oh, my goodness. Okay, we're going to have to connect. Next time I come to Chattanooga. One of the places that my wife and I say that we want to visit more. Gino says, great, Steve. How long have you been fasting? How long are your fasts, Steve? So Steve, let me see if he answers. I was going to answer for you, Steve, but I'm going to let you do it. Gion said, I do just only I can't prevent burnout. And hello, Pamela. So Steve, are you still doing one meal a day? I think that's what you were doing before. But go ahead and pop that in. Let us know. Okay? All right. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at blood sugars really quickly. And I've got to log back in because I've been talking and it logged me out. So let me pop over there just a second. Everybody. So what one thing that you think you can do to help prevent you from prevent the burnout? All right, what's one thing? Go ahead and pop that in the chat. Let's see how to. While you do that, I'm gonna log back in. If it will let me. Come on, come on, come on. So let's see. Steve says okay. Let's go back over here. Steve said we do a meal a day. Yeah, so I think I do remember, and I wasn't sure if you guys were still doing that, Steve. But one meal a day. And remember, there are various types of fasting that people can do. One meal a day being one of them. Time restricted eating being another. The extended fast, 24 hours or longer. And here we are. Let's see. Just logging back in. All right, and we'll take a look at blood sugars. So let's go ahead and let's hop over here. So here's my meter, or my Dexcom Clarity report. This is what my 90-day average looks like. Average right there is 160. My glucose management indicator is 7.1. So we're going to see what that is here in just a couple of weeks, because I had blood drawn today. My time in range is 69. And if I look at my daily graph and pop back up, so here we are, right? So this line right here is 180. What line is that? That's the yellow line on top. And of course, this is my blood sugar, and you'll see with the fluctuations. And right here's what I was talking about this morning, where we had gotten down to 115, and then just as I'm getting ready to go to work, boom, there you go. So we got up to 169, I think is the highest. And then, of course, for the rest of the day, it's been kind of coming back down. Here is where we were yesterday. And we kind of went through our episode talking about I should say trying. So here, all this is my buffering, right? So getting into the fast and getting into the fast and breaking the fast, getting into the fast and breaking the fast. And then finally here, as I process and I went through the COPE model, right? Clarify, observe, pause, and execute. Then my brain was finally able to break out of that cycle. And then we got into the fast, and here we are 36, 37 hours later, okay? Awesome. And then let me hop over and let's take a look at blood sugars. Once again, here's my Libre, and we are 90 right now. And I'm going to pull up my Keto Mojo app. Let's get that up. Keto Mojo app. And here is my Keto Mojo meter. So let's go ahead and pull the strip out. Go ahead and turn that on. And then we'll sync it over here. And we'll get to see what that is. Okay. And so I think in the comments I had a 0.4 by Steve and a 0.5 I think by Gian. Yeah, I think those are let's see what it is. So drum roll, please. Drum roll, drum roll, drum roll. And my ketones are 0.9. Yes, 0.9. So ketones, when we talk about ketones, normal is less than 0.5. 0.5 to 1.5 is considered nutritional ketosis, and then above 1.5 is considered therapeutic ketosis. So when we talk about being in ketosis, eating a ketogenic diet, talk about the metabolic benefits that we get from ketones, often we're talking about ketones that are 0.5 or higher. Okay. Now, that's not to say that if you're doing shorter fasts where your ketones are not elevated, then you're not getting benefit. You are getting benefit. All the fasting gets benefit. As we do more extended fasts, as we get ketones higher, of course, those give faster, more profound benefits in terms of working on our metabolism. Okay, awesome. All right, and so Jihan says, she says, "Wow, yeah, wow, doctor, ketone number, yep, I like that." Steve saying he ate 5 hours ago. Um, Pamela said, "I refuse to overcommit myself." I love that, Pamela. And then, of course, Steve was saying he does one meal a day. All right, so I want you to remember that, as I mentioned earlier, all that we do is built on the Triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. We educate with the shows, with the blogs, with the podcasts. We empower with the tools that we're learning. Like right now, we've just learned this concept of how to reflect, how to reignite, and how to re-engage as we're dealing with being overwhelmed and being burnt out. Another tool, another piece in the puzzle that we can put our hand in our toolbox and pull out whenever we need it. And then, of course, we encourage with the community that you are part of, that we are building. If you've not joined our community yet, make sure you do that. We have our community meetup that meets once a month on the fourth Thursday, which is coming up next week, I think on the 27th. After the show, we have a kind of after the show powwow. There's special videos that I do after the show that the community members get, and then of course being able to get into the community meetup area so we can begin supporting each other on times other than during the show and other than these Zooms. Okay, so make sure you get there. So educate, empower, and encourage. That is the Triple E formula for success. And of course, here in this space, we are dealing with limitless living. And limitless living says that we are taking all of the obstacles out of our way. We are dealing with, we are addressing, we are facing intentionally those things that have the potential to derail us and to change the direction of our health by causing us to have complications. That's what we're doing. That's what limitless living says. And we have the ability to do that because we have unlimited potential. So I'm going to get started. Unlimited potential. Okay? So make sure that you get out there and make sure that you are doing all the things that you need to do when we talk about limitless living and being in the space of being successful. Make sure you're watching the shows. Make sure you're engaging. Make sure you are doing the challenges. Make sure that you are using the tools. Don't just let them be theory in a book, in your journal, or on the shelf, on the video, on the channel. Get out there, listen to them, engage with them, and apply them to your life on a daily basis. Let someone know that there's a space where they can come, where they can be metabolically better, where they can begin improving themselves and getting better health, right? Share this. Don't just let this be something that, if I can get rid of it, let this be something that you're keeping to yourself. There are over 1 billion people on the planet that are diabetic or pre-diabetic. You can be a voice for change for somebody, okay? So share that. Let them know that they can come. And then share your story here in this space in the community. Because when we hear what's going on with you, we are encouraged and we can come alongside and encourage you when you need that as well. Okay? So I'm glad that we are doing that. All right. So let's see. A couple of comments. So Steve said had chicken wings tonight. Oh, Steve. And Jello. Gion says, thank you all. Thank you for today, doctor. Your ketone number is good even 5 hours before you eat. And so Gianna was just asking, what did you eat for Steve? And just having that conversation. I'm always excited to be here, to be in this space with you so that we can share, so that we can work together to support each other. We'll be back tomorrow as we do our check-in at the end of our fast. We'll be back on Saturday night at 9 p.m. for Video from the Vault. And then Sunday morning, This Week in Review at 6 a.m. Central. And then next week, we'll be back right here, 7 o'clock Central on Dwain Woode MD for Dwain Woode MD Live as we continue walking through the limitless living pathway. Glad to be here. here in this space, Dr. Dwain Woode, that's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, Limitless Living says that nothing outside of me or nothing inside of me is going to prevent me from doing what I need to do. I'm breaking those barriers, I'm breaking those borders, and I'm presenting my best self, my best life, and my best plans. And I'm not taking no for an answer. You are not alone. And you have the power to reignite your fire in the midst of all that's going on. Thanks for being with me tonight. We'll see you tomorrow and in our future episodes. Good night, everybody.